What is going on, everybody? Welcome to MLB Live Before a Lock, presented by Stokastic. I'm Eric Lindquist. You can follow me at Eric Lindquist, ERIC. C is incorrect over on X. And I'm joined by my friend Chris, also with a C, because, well, I don't know any guys with a K in Chris. I guess there's Christopher Ventura. He's a golfer. He's pretty good, actually, at golf. One day he will be somebody that we actually roster in DFS lineups. Today is not that day, but Chris Spags over on X as well. How you doing, my dude?
Excited to be here. I think you got Chris Murray with a K on the Trailblazers too. He's not really in the rotation barely, but yeah, excited to be here. I think it's an interesting slate today. We got some weather concern games. We got a pitcher that's over 10K that I think looks pretty good. Lineups, frankly, getting a lot of stacks that I didn't necessarily love based off the data, but we do trust that sim data is always here. It's going to take a lot of people to the pay window, as it has many of your peers here with Stokastic logos. But excited to be here with you today on this fine. It's actually not a fine Monday. It's very rainy Monday here. It's pretty gross out.
Oh, really? It is absolutely perfect now. It's going to be 92 over the weekend, and I have a wedding to go attend on Saturday. So can't wait to sweat balls in not a wool suit anymore. I can tell you that much. But yeah, wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. It is going to be
linens. Got to go linens. Miami Vice mode if you can.
I feel like you would have really good wedding style. You have really good suits, don't you?
I actually do. The suits I get.
My guess is that you have. Go ahead.
Oh, no, the Black Tux. Black Tux does a great job for that stuff. If you ever need to get one, even if it's not for a wedding for yourself, you could just get a suit and you get them fitted, whatever, based off your little measurements. But yeah, I try to dress well for weddings because I dress like such a hobo every other day. So that's sort of the trade-off.
I didn't say that, but you said it, and so I'll agree with you if you want to be agreed with on such things. But no, I think you have great style, is what I was trying to say. I was trying to be a compliment and saying that, like,
thank you.
I feel like you'd be the person who goes to a wedding, and there's that one wacky eccentric, and maybe not uncle, but like there's the person who can pull off like the bright blue. Or like bright red suit that's just like stands out. You feel like a standout style individual. That's a compliment.
I think you might be confusing me with a pimp. I think would be the thing that, or somebody at the NFL draft, perhaps. But no, I appreciate the sentiment. I do think for weddings, you try to look the best you can. I would like to think I have more of a classical style, but I've worn some tan linen suits. I've worn some light blue suits before. I've worn a seersucker suit. I like, if you get something nice that somebody else can curate for me, you can take the shot.
The lady is the man.
You put some dollar signs on that, call it a day,
See, I have a feeling it'd be like the Riddler, but something different. It's your version of the Riddler, and you wear the hat with it.
The Matthew Lesko guy is the one who's famous, maybe a little bit before your time, but the one who would help people get money off of government grants and stuff. And he would have like these ads on syndication that were like a guy with like dollar signs all over, and he'd be like, "Who wants free money?" And I don't know if he'd say that, but something similar to that.
Okay, I have no idea who you're talking about, but the way that you explained it, I'm going to pull out.
Somebody in chat will know. Matthew Lesko with a K. It's out there. That's you actually. Honestly, we can screen share.
Oh my God.
Matthew Lesko. I'll give you the screen. Here's the Matthew Lesko screen.
Right. Show it to me, baby.
There you go. So he wears question marks, not dollar signs, but so a little more Riddlery. Here you go. Yeah, free money. Here we go. Free money, everybody. There we go. Now you got the idea.
What is this? Oh, that guy. Okay, I remember those infomercials. It's just like running around Washington, D.C. being a kook.
You're getting people free money, everybody. Just like us here on this channel.
Let's do that. But, we don't have to go to the suit. Honestly, that was actually on brand, though, to some extent. Like, we got to get you branded in that same style.
That's the thing holding me back. It's the hat wasn't enough a step. I need to wear outfits like that and be full. Honestly, if it would get me paid, at this point, I would take it.
Oh, stop it. My friend Chris Spags over here going to be a best ball extraordinaire for the next couple months as well. He's got the Splash Play pod. He's just good people over here in these Stokastic streets. I've been working with him years and years and years now, on and off, obviously. I didn't like the off period. So the fact that we're back on and we're an item again makes my heart happy. You know what else is also phenomenal? I got to find this screenshot. I got to find it over on X because we had a 100K winner. 100.
Ooh.
I mean, it was just so beautiful to take a look at. So wanted to pull this up on stream. And yeah, I guess I'm going to have to do the removal of screen. And I'm going to present that now here as well. So it's going to look awesome once I do this. Promise we'll get ourselves to
you can just go tab to tab. You don't have to X out. You can just hit like switch, like show this tab.
Don't do that with your logic.
I'm trying to help you. I'm trying to help.
All right, let's take a look at this. Coley Poston, $100,000. He tweeted at us. He let us know that it's the best tools in the game. And I would 100% agree with what Coley Poston had to say over on X. What an absolute beauty of a screenshot, Spags.
Hey, look, 100K up top, and you get that 6-figure number. Always great to see. And look, Stokastic avatars, whether it's MLB, whether it's NBA, I'm sure there's other sports out there as well that I'm not playing on a regular basis. Really, the avatar is dominating up top in a lot of the lineups lately, and a lot of comes credit, hopefully these shows, but also the sim stuff, for sure, definitely going to help people make more money they probably ever have in DFS.
Yeah, it's good times. Also good times. 7-day free trial of Portfolio EV. Just throwing this out here at the onset of our video. We'll bring it up again, but we're sharing over on Playback the best bets of the day. I've got everything rocking here over in Playback, double checking to make sure that it is 100% being shared over there. Look at that. It sure enough is. So if you guys want to be checking out some of the best bets, we have NHL, we have a ton of NBA at the top of it. AJ Smith-Shawver under 4.5 strikeouts plus 151. That's a juicy meatball as well. Taking on Cincinnati team there in Atlanta. Tons to be looking at right now with Portfolio EV. So check out playback.tv/Stokastic. And then the NBA Live Before Lock show will be sharing as well. That is Greg. That is Josh coming up directly after us in 50 minutes. But to the screen share that I apparently cannot figure out how to maneuver in any other way other than just X the whole thing out and add it. I will learn your ways, Spags. I will learn your ways. But before we dive into this slate, which again, very limited number of games. So we have a grand total of 8 on this main slate, 2 that are starting right beforehand. Anything that stands out to you want to address before we start breaking it down?
No, I mean, look, I am very much team Cole Ragans today. Got a good amount of him. Field is getting there even more than I got. Got 35% of the sim. Field's at 54. But frankly, if it were me, I would probably put him in every lineup possible. Zeke looks like a strong play today. And I'm actually curious your thoughts on weather as well. The Yankee game I took out of the equation for myself. Not sure if that was the right move or not, but Ragans and the Yankees are kind of my main thoughts right now.
Okay, I did not take the Yankee game out, although Nick Pivetta, Carlos Rodon, pitchers, I think you can be a little bit lower on because I think there's definitely some in-game rain. They're going to have to start this thing wet. I mean, I don't know what else to say other than like,
nice.
Anyway, guys, that's Chris Spags. He's an adult, and we're going to break down this entire slate for you right now, starting with pitcher Cole Ragans. He's on the rag. I mean, if you want to make another ridiculous comment about that or things of the sort, go ahead. Let's just make this a strange show all the way around. Cole Ragans definitely makes some sense. SimStool's pretty flat. I ran multiple sims here throughout the day, and every single time, I do not have anybody showing up more than 50% of the time. You said you're playing him in a lot of lineups. I'm guessing that's more than the 42% he's currently projected for then, Spags.
Yes, I guess there was a data update that I have to pull now, but yeah, look, I liked him more when I was hand selecting the lineups. I'm putting in the larger tournament on DraftKings today. Got a little more Cole Ragans than I got in my top 150. The top 150 that I had at the sim only got 35%, so I do think that's a more reasonable number than I would hand select myself. But I like the underlying numbers for him: 15% swinging strike rate, 47% chase rate, one of the lowest exit velocities on the slate at 88.1 miles per hour allowed overall. He's got a lineup that should be striking out. I mean, not as good as some other teams on the slate. 3 guys that strike out above league average, about a 20% aggregate K rate. But I do think that's being inflated by a few guys on there who have smaller sample sizes. So I think Ragans is your best pick today, and I feel pretty strongly about him, and frankly would take him a lot more than Pivetta.
Yeah, he's projected for a lot better than Pivetta, and I think Pivetta with the weather concerns, I'm with you. I think there's a pretty noticeable gap. You get a White Sox lineup that, I mean, what is it that you'd say you do here? And I would say that they're about as good of a matchup as you can walk into. Not the best for strikeouts against lefties so far this season, 21.9%. They get a lot of these like little slap happy guys that have been scattered throughout the lineup that make it a little bit more conceivable that, you know, like Edgar Quero does not have over a 10% K rate right now against left-handed pitching. You've got guys like Jacob Amaya, got to wait to see the lineup. I haven't gotten that lineup updated in my sheet yet. So my guess is that, oh, there it is. Yeah, I got it. My draft is leading off. What a time to be alive. Cuero is batting third here today. So I'll get that all updated and be able to tell you on my side what I'm looking at. But there's no doubt our data here at Stokastic today, rightfully in love with Cole Ragans. He's not showing up crazy amount in the Sims, though, because there's a pitcher down here at 8,400, who is definitely going to end up being, 8,300, who's going to show up more and more and more. Let's talk weather, and not weather that is going to rain out the game or anything, but weather in Wrigley. Wind blowing in here. Cubbies, Matthew Boyd getting to go up against San Francisco, which is not the best of matchups traditionally. San Francisco, 24.6% K rate against lefties, though. That is top 10 in baseball. At least we can run into a K rate that's at least decent enough here. And Matthew Boyd should have a great chance at going for, 6-7 innings in this one, considering how much the wind is blowing in from left field, really isolating some of these righties that generally would have power against a guy like Matt Boyd, already having a great season at avoiding power himself. I think Matt Boyd looks great today, Spags, my highest owned pitcher.
Yeah, I got 43% of him in my top 150. To me, I think Ragans, I expect to have a little bit of a better matchup overall, just given the White Sox and who they are. But as Eric mentioned, the Giants here, 3.4 implied runs against them, or for them rather. It's not really a lot going against Matthew Boyd in the spot. The conditions seem to be favoring him. Park factors. Cubs are playing a little bit hotter to start the year overall, but I think that might just be an aberration so far for the small sample size. The Boyd's got good stuff. Low hard hit rate at 35.5%. Barreled ball rate under 7% is towards the better parts of the slate. Swinging strike rate for him is good at 13. Chase rate at 48%. One of the highest marks on the slate as well. So he's got good stuff to take advantage of this lineup where there are 5 guys that strike out above league average. 24% aggregate K rate for the Giants today. So I think that Boyd's a very strong play as well. He would be my number 2 choice if I was kind of hand selecting stuff. But sim-wise, relative to the value that he has at his projection, Boyd's probably the player going to get the most.
All right, now is where it gets just disgusting, because I do think because of the weather, I feel pretty confident about Matthew Boyd being a popular pitcher. I also think Cole Ragans looks by far the best. 2.58 xFIP, 35.9% K rate. White Sox on the other side. There aren't many planets where those two aren't going to show up in a considerable amount of lineups, but now we can start having conversations. Carlos Rodon, 16% in my lineups right now. I'm a little bit under, and obviously that weather is a concern. 10% undercutting Nick Pivetta just to cover the 2 expensive guys in that weather game. Are you full fading them then if you've removed everything from this game?
So in the 150 set I had, because I just like to get kind of a one without me interfering and hand selecting stuff and boosting guys too much, I did get 15%-ish of both Rodon and Pivetta. So I think if you are playing it as straight up, and it seems like Eric's more comfortable with that on the weather stuff, where I saw red on some of the weather things out there for 7 p.m., 8 p.m., 9 p.m. It spooked me enough that we could get some more to postponement territory, even though I'll defer to your expertise on this more so. That spooked me enough where if I were like hand choosing stuff, this would not be the game I'd want to go to necessarily. I've also been burned by weather in the last couple of weeks, so I'm a little more skittish right now on it. But I think naturally getting to around 15, even 20% of these guys is fine. That in particular, I think has, alongside Ragans, the best stuff in the slate. Gets hit hard a little bit more with the 10.9% barreled ball rate, basically 11 there. But to me, I think he's got similar strikeout stuff, 10 Ks per 9, actually almost 11 versus righties, just over 11 versus lefties. So like, if I'm going to play this game straight, I think getting some Pivetta feels good. I just right now, like with the show, I didn't want to deal with weather. So for right now, these guys are out of my own selected lineups that I'm playing.
I'm not sure what to say about it. It's right now 5:17 Eastern time, 2:17 here. If you get a late start, I'm nervous about it. If they start the game on time, I feel good about it. It just, you got to remember this too. In the grand scheme of things, if people are afraid of playing a weather spot that starts period, it's probably going to come in under owned. And you're probably, again, they're not the 2 most popular pitchers on the slate because Cole Ragans exists. I don't think you have to play some crazy amount of them. I think if this game just starts, period, I'm comfortable having them in because lineups lose all the time because of bad performances, because of no stack that goes off in them. So like over the course of an entire MLB season, I don't want to get in a habit of like trying to be too weatherman-y. I mean, we all know Shmevin Schmoth does a really good job with different stuff. We obviously can use the Google machines ourselves. And for me, I have windfinder.com that I've used for years and years and years, just, from the PG streets and carried that over into MLB. And I think it does a great job of encapsulating wind direction and exactly what's going on. I'd say pretty much all weather elements, but nothing looks crazy bad as long as they start on time to me.
No, and look, and I think that's a reasonable way to handle it. I think the way that I viewed as well, where I have a little bit of weather aversion. We're also doing the stream. I have to do NBA after this as well. So like kind of my time is a little bit tight with this stuff. I felt comfortable taking it out because I like Raggeds more as a pitcher anyway. I also like Boyd as a play more relative to the salaries. There's a few cheaper guys we're going to talk about, I'm sure at some length, that I think also grade out well sim-wise. These guys do sim-wise still come up less than I think the expected ownership. So I'm cool kind of taking the game or taking these guys out a little bit more. But obviously I think, there's still good enough plays and I'm with you on that. And if you're playing a 150 set, probably have to have a little more diamond hands as opposed to what I'm doing, just trying to play the best pure uncut lineups so I can select myself.
Well, here we go. We've got ourselves these cheapies, and boy, oh boy, it gets just disgusting. Let's start with AJ Smith-Shawver and Ronel Blanco, because both of them sitting in that same price tier, 7,300, 7,500. And neither of them pulling a ton of ownership by the field. But boy, oh boy, I've got 30% Smith-Shawver. I've got 25% Ronel Blanco. That's a pretty hefty number for each of them. And AJ Smith-Shawver has some of the weirdest metrics of anybody on this slate. His XFIP is really good, 3.60 XFIP. His expected ERA is really bad. Looking at, it's not even like egregious, is it? Oh yeah, no, it's absolutely egregious. But a 4.26 actual ERA, 25.6% carry for him so far on the season. I think it's just the strikeout stuff and the fact that Cincinnati has so many of them with McClain, Elly De La Cruz, Gavin Lux there at the top. There's not a lot of strikeouts at the bottom half relative to other teams with Fraley, Santiago Espinal, but I think Cincinnati's just gone so cold against righties so many times this season. And despite a 14.5% barrel percentage, the 25.6% K rate just stands out on this slate, Spags.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's hard to avoid Smith-Shawver, and he's one of those guys where sometimes we talk about, I like this pitcher because it's a matchup situation. There's a ton of strikeouts in the lineup, high overall average K rate or aggregate K rate for the lineup, like those guys you go to. For Smith-Shawver, I think it's just a projection play here where, $7,500 salary, projection of just shy of 15 fantasy points for Stokastic today on DraftKings. That stuff looks good. I think the barreled ball rate is worrisome. He's faced 210 batters the last couple seasons, 11.4% barreled ball rate, the worst mark on the slate. That spooks you a little bit. He's not giving up a ton of contact in the zone, only a 39.5% rate, which is towards the bottom percentile of the slate. So maybe some positives there that he's not getting hit in the zone a ton. I don't think he's got great stuff with, 7.4 Ks per nine versus righties, 9.5 versus lefties, bigger sample size versus lefties. So that makes you feel a little bit better. He doesn't have great stuff, but the projection's there. The matchup is kind of there. The total's kind of there. So I'm with it, but Eric, I feel like I don't have a real strong feel for Smith-Shawver where I don't think he's a great pitcher. I just think he works well as a DFS play on this particular slate.
Yeah, on this particular slate, he definitely works out well. I will definitely have Cincinnati bats against him with a 401 xWOBA. The amount of speed power combination you have with an Elly De La Cruz, TG Friedl up there, Matt McClain on the days that he decides to be good at baseball. Those are always fun days. AJ Smith-Shawver has some type of strikeout ability, and it's not crazy. He's increased it. He's only 22 years of age. He's very, very young. He's not, one of these elite strikeout arms in the making. He's never really had that electric stuff by any means, but he's got a really, really, really good off-speed mix. The curveball is going to be a good pitch, and the split finger is the calling card. If he can get the split finger moving, 289 xWOBA last season, only the one start, so that doesn't really count for anything. But before that, 318 xWOBA, 454 pitches as a 20-year-old. You don't see many 20-year-olds getting called up to pitch, so they obviously like a lot of what he does, and they've worked on the mix. But 6.53 expected ERA next to that xFIP. I brought it up before. I mean, this is just such feast or famine. So at least he's low owned. At least he has a strikeout upside. That makes him a DFS target.
Yeah, and I think your approach to trying to get some Cincinnati stacks going against him, they frankly don't come up a lot sim-wise naturally, I think in particular because you have a steep price tag for De La Cruz there in the 3-hole, but trying to get some leverage against him I think is logical as well. He's got a 48% fly ball rate so far, 52% versus lefties, so there are enough lefty bats here that could send that ball up in the air. I think he's going to be a very volatile play on the slate, and we do often talk about these volatile spots to try to target both sides of. I think he's probably your most pronounced one in terms of what I think the field ownership will be, though. Frankly, field ownership at 11%, it's the Sims kind of giving you a lot more than's currently projected for him.
I really don't have any take in this mid-range, this Luis Severino, Bryce Miller. I think they're pretty flat, pretty meh. Even with the wind blowing in, it's still that smaller-ish ballpark in Sacramento. Not even smaller-ish. It's apparently just like the Oakland Coliseum, except for it's going to get warm there this summer, and that's going to be very fun. But it's still not an ideal spot for either of them. I'd be more inclined to take shots on Bryce Miller, but I don't think it's necessary as we get down to Ronel Blanco. And Blanco against Milwaukee, it's kind of the same deal where I think that there are times that you just run into days with Ronel Blanco where he's got a feel for some of his pitches and you see some type of strikeout upside. Only 21.7% this season, but one of the things you can do is like look at the distributions of a pitcher and like, what does his upside look like? He's had 7 strikeouts against the Angels. That shouldn't surprise many people. 6 strikeouts against the Giants, 6 strikeouts against the Tigers. They're very lefty heavy. And I think this is probably just one of those textbook, like short, small sample sizes where I think Ronel Blanco could finish his season closer to like 23, 24%, or he could finish at like 18, 19%. I don't really know. All I do know is that this Milwaukee lineup is not really all that in a bag of potato chips. And they find times to strike out in inopportune spots, and they have just a 75 WRC plus. There's something to be said about going up against a team that just struggles in that kind of a department. By the way, I had the wrong splits pasted in my sheet there. 97 WRC plus against righties do the Milwaukee Brewers have. So basically league average. They don't strike out a ton, but again, this is one of those slates. If you can just avoid getting completely lit up with some of these pitchers, you're probably in a decent spot, Spags.
Yeah, I mean, Blanco, I think, fits the criteria as well. $7,300 salary. 27% is what I'm getting in the sim for him. So almost 2x the field on that. I think he's got good stuff. Being a 13.7% swing strike rate, 48% chase rate, hard hit rate's 35%, which is towards the better part of the slate. Even though it sounds like a high number, it's actually not that bad in terms of what he's given up. 5 ball rate gives you some cause for concern, but the park factors of Milwaukee playing about a 12% less overall park factors or negative park factors for Milwaukee's park right now. And that's a positive for him. And not that Houston's playing so hot either, but I think anything that helps him out here when you are trying to split hairs. He's got good enough stuff. The whip's low, 1.2 whip over the last 1,000 batters faced too. I agree with you that he works pretty well. I don't think he's the kind of pitcher that if he were 8,500, we'd treat him the same way. But at 7,300 with a 15-point projection, he's one of the better plays in the slate, and I think he's got good enough stuff where you don't feel that gross about it.
Let's have the Tobias Myers conversation, because I think with no Yordan Alvarez in the lineup today for the Houston Astros, got put on IL before this show. This is a different looking spot. 3.85 expected ERA, just a 17.6% K rate, and walks have been up for him so far in very limited sample. Just 3 appearances, 3 starts for him this season. Actually didn't even start the previous one, but I'm just worried about the pitch count. And we have our data sitting here with like 10% for it. He pitched quite literally 3 days ago. He pitched on May 2nd. And yet he is a guy at 5,700, considering you have 9 righties in the lineup for Houston today in Milwaukee. I don't know what to do with him. I'm having a devil of a time trying to figure out exactly like what it is that we should be looking at, because 13 is a better projection than a lot of those other pieces that I was talking about, like the Luis Severino, Bryce Miller, and they're much more expensive. I would be jamming a Tobias Myers at 5,700 if I knew what that pitch count was. I have a lot of concerns about it. First off, do you feel those same concerns? And secondly, how much are you planning on playing here at 5,700? Because he is definitely, I'd say, the cheap pitcher du jour.
Yeah, so I did get a few lineups with him. 5,700 I think is too cheap, even though the projection of 11 fantasy points, like I get why he wouldn't come up a lot sim-wise naturally. The sim only gave him only 2% of me in my top 150, so like really wasn't a favorable stand for him. But the splits jump out here. He's actually got a 0.98 whip versus right-handed hitting compared to a 1.5 whip versus lefties, 4.5% walk rate compared to almost 10% versus lefties, 26% K rate rounding up from 25.6%, compared to an 18% K rate versus lefties. So like he's actually been a lot better pitcher against righties than he has been lefties. 9 Ks per 9 compared to 7.3 versus lefties. So the fact that he's getting this righty dominant lineup, I think is actually pretty good news for him in a park that again should help him out as well. I agree the pitch count stuff's a little bit of a concern. He's only averaged 76.5 pitches per appearance for himself, but if he can be efficient, I guess would be the thing you're hoping for. But even if he isn't, he might find enough strikeouts because they're really, I wouldn't say they're playing into his hands, but it's a lot of righties for a guy who's seemingly much better versus righties than versus lefties.
I mean, I just wish I had any idea how many pitches. He had 82 pitches on the 24th, but he pitched on April 30th. He pitched on May 2nd. It is May 5th. Like, those are two appearances, pretty darn recent for a guy that, is showing up with a 13 projection, which might be a little bit heavy. But again, if I knew what the pitch count was, knowing what he can do against righties, I would be playing a ton of him. I'm probably still going to roll some out and just kind of guess. Maybe we get news about that in the next hour and a half, and I'll update everybody in the MLB channel, the MLB DFS channel over at Stokastic in the Discord. One of the benefits of being a member here at Stokastic. So check that out. I don't really have a lot else to say about it, but wanted to at least bring it up because he was somebody who was showing up a ton in the Sims for me. I got 24% of him. I hope it gets a little bit more muted as we have updates as it goes along, but we'll see. Again, maybe we just don't get word on it and you have to roll out a little bit, and he's the cheap guy you can get to for some expensive stacks. Because I don't feel great about Miles Michaelis, although he's been pitching deeper into games. Obviously they've had a quick hook for him a couple of times where put himself in some jams later innings, but he's been finding ways of being successful, even though I still think he sucks. Brady Singer there, 8,800, tough matchup against Atlanta. I think he'll pitch all right. I might give him a little bit of a nudge to get him up over the edge, but Landon Ropp is the other guy that if I'm going to boost one pitcher today, Spags, I brought up everything about how good the weather is for Matthew Boyd. It's the same weather for Landon Ropp, and I don't think he's nearly as good. I don't think the strikeout stuff is nearly as fun. He's a righty taking on a Cubs lineup that just destroys righties this season, but the weather is as such. He's got a 26.7% hard hit percentage, does a great job of getting strikeouts at opportune times, 25.9% K rate. What am I missing here? Because I was expecting to get more of him than what the Sims are giving me.
Yeah, I got only 3% of Rob compared to the field 7, so I'm really not there either. I do agree that he's had some pretty good splits as well. Another guy with strong splits versus righties has faced 195 righties, 11.5 Ks per 9 versus right-handed bats. He's faced 157 lefties, only 6.2 Ks per 9 there. So he's getting pretty good results overall. A 30% K rate compared to 15% and change versus lefties. So I think there's some merits there. Even though the Cubs lineup is pretty tough against right-handed pitching overall, still have 5 guys that strike out above league average in the lineup as well. So I think there's something there. Didn't come up for me, really. To me, it's kind of like a 4-pitcher slate with some of the guys in the first game coming up behind them. I didn't get much Ropp, but I agree that he's not a bad play. The total could be a little bit lower, I think, to feel more confident about it. And Cubs are a tough matchup, I feel like. Who's gotten a lot of results in outlier games this year, but the stuff's not bad for him. Whip's kind of high for really no matter what he's doing.
All right, let's get ourselves partying, shall we? We are going to continue on our merry way, as AJ Verse always likes to say to me. I can't help it. Sometimes you just say the same stuff over and over again on show, Spags, because people like predictability to some extent. Hi, Duke. Oh, are you okay? Oh, okay. Just had to move around. He's had a tough work day today, Spags.
Well, I mean, I get it. Kitty had to get some shots today. I was telling Eric before the show. So she whines now when you pick her up because I guess something hurts there. So tough scene for the animals of our various homes today. But they do the best they can showing up every day.
But they're so sweet. They're so sweet. Anyway, we got, some really unappealing options elsewhere. Griffin Canning, I can't make really a lot of cases for him. Shane Smith, I kind of can against Kansas City, but not showing up for me. I don't think he's a priority by any means. Is there somebody more off the beaten path that isn't pulling ownership or isn't showing up for you in the Sims that you have interest in that we can cover?
Shane Smith, I've liked on a bunch of slates. Projection wise, he never really seems to come through very much. Only a 10-point projection a day at a 7K salary. So some of the guys we've talked about already stand out a lot more there. But yeah, strikeout stuff hasn't been great for him. Only 8 Ks per 9 versus right-handed bats, 6.5 versus left-handed bats. But underlying stuff, swing and strike rate's not bad, 11%. Chase rate's not great, 37. He's probably due for some worse days. Think he's probably gotten better results than he has. Besides him, I don't know. Really no hidden gems in terms of strikeout stuff. Ryan Nelson, I want to attack more so. I don't mind Severino and Miller, but I like the park factors for the hitters more in that game. But really, I think all the guys that we talked about already are the ones that like all my ownership are going to basically.
Okay. Yeah, I'm with you. It's the same way. I'm probably going to give Shane Smith some kind of a boost. Ryan Nelson has the best XFIP on the entire slate. The problem is he's the least stretched out of anybody on the entire slate. So while I have my issues with other pieces here, I mean, he pitched on the 29th. He got to 68 pitches, but he has yet to reach the 70 pitch mark. 75, 80 pitches maybe in the range of outcomes for him. Roof is open in Arizona today for the Metsies. It's a really tough spot here in their current configuration, wouldn't you say? I mean, the Mets coming off of a back-to-back is the only thing that I can really say where it's like maybe fatigue, something that doesn't show up in data, but I can't make a case for Ryan Nelson.
I think Nelson's due to get hit pretty hard. He's given up a lot of hard contact. 211 ISO to lefties, 190 ISO versus righties, 42% hard hit rate, 9% barreled ball rate. Not really missing bats either. He's given up contact in the zone 46.2% of the time, which is towards the higher end of the slate as well. I personally went out of my way to get Mets stacks today, despite the high price tag. We're getting a lot in the sim naturally. At least I wasn't, so I wanted to force my way there. I'm anti Ryan Nelson. I think he's going to get blown up today, or I hope he does.
Yeah, Ryan Nelson against the Metsies. We'll talk stacks here in a second. But first, we got to jump over to FanDuel because FanDuel need loves too. No discrimination here, squirrel. So keep your hands off my cheeks and let me study how you ride the beat. Big freak.
Only you would have to sing, quote, sexy rap lyrics to FanDuel.
Whole room fell silent. Girls all paused at me, turning left, turning right. They're looking at me, but I was looking at them. They're there on the dance floor. Now they got me in the middle feeling like a man whore, especially the big girls. And we've got ourselves some ownership here on the FanDuel side. Oh boy. Cole Reagans pulling the most ownership by far. Matt Boyd sitting there, 700 less, half the ownership, which is pretty interesting, but only 3 pitchers. Rodon fit in there as well. I will say this, if you are trying to come up with some kind of a tiebreaker, the fact that Rodon is pitching with water coming down on his head, I tried to say it in a way that wasn't saying he's getting wet because apparently I can't do that without Chris turning into a child. Just had to say it differently. This is my life now. Ronel Blanco, Nick Pivetta, no thank you at 10-5. Luis Ortiz, oh boy. That's fascinating. And we will talk a little bit of that. But FanDuel, their main has baseball with the Cleveland Guardians and Washington Nationals going, as well as the other game that is in the early window, Miami and the Dodgers, which we will definitely cover. Sandy Alcantara, how times have changed when he's sub 1%. In any matchup 2 years ago, 7,400 Sandy Alcantara would be 100% owned because he pitched 21 outs like every single time. But things change, and time is undefeated. But looking at the top of the board here for FanDuel Spags, anything stand out to you that you would want to get more of, less of, anything at all?
I still like Raggins for the same reasons as we do on DraftKings. It's just you're giving up a lot of leverage there, about negative 20% leverage on him because he's got a 10% chance to be the top pitcher and about 30% ownership going his way. So I think he's a less appealing play on FanDuel. I think Pivetta, if you can absorb that weather concern, he's going to be getting wet out there too. Because remember, the weather applies for both sides of the equation. So we got 2 pitchers getting wet tonight there in New York. But we got Nick Pivetta there. I think he looks under-owned for the opportunity. High salary at 10-5, but an 8.4% chance to be a top pitcher, 6.8% ownership. Luis Ortiz, because of the inertia, I think, of not being on the DraftKings slate, less ownership for him at 8,800. I think I would just try to get less Raggins, less Boyd, and just take your shot with the other guys and see what you get, I think, with a single pitcher on there.
Game 7 Rock. Do y'all check batter versus pitcher history when choosing a pitcher at Eric Lindquist? Never.
No, you want as much of a sample size as possible.
Legitimately never. I never have. I never will. And that is it. Only song this guy knows. Fuck you, Arcathelza.
For what it's worth, too, that you can look up FanGraphs in general, the batting data. If you're going to correlate for the future, you want like 550 at bats. So there's never a batter that's faced a pitcher 550 times. So generally, you're doing yourself a disservice if you worry about BVP and small sample size stuff.
Anyway, that's about how I feel about that I would share.
I like it. I think you should
twinkle, little star. See, there's another song. You happy now? Would that make you love me? I love Portfolio EV. 7-day free trial available down at the link below. I remind you, friends, if you enjoy the fun splendor that is the Eric Lindquist and Chris Spags experience, which we can experience away. 7-day free trial currently available. Signing up down at the link below. Would love to have you there. Currently sharing it over at playback.tv/Stokastic. If you want to get some free bets, like, I don't know, Carson Kelly, total home runs, plus 1,100 over at Fanatics, jumping at the top of the board. Peyton Pritchard, under 1.5 3-pointers, plus 124 over at NoVig. Kristaps Porzingis 3-pointers, also been a market that we have been pretty darn profitable at over with the Portfolio EV tool. It is available for free, watching it right now, as well as a 7-day free trial down at the link below. That was awesome. I'm awesome at this.
You always are. Even when you're singing the same song over and over again, we're like, Eric, get a second song. And this guy, it's just like a one note.
Up above the world so high. All right, we got more to talk about. We have tons more to talk about. We jump into the stack portion of the program. And wouldn't you know it, the stack ROI is cray-cray today. The White Sox, you should probably know by now, whenever there's the most popular pitcher on a stat or on a slate, you're going to get a very limited amount of these stacks. You don't want to be doing this like crazy. You don't want to play hundreds of Kansas City stacks, or you're going to go broke. Or sorry, White Sox stacks, that is, against Cole Ragans. You're probably going to go broke over a long-term sample, but having them littered into your lineups, it is positive expected value, 2.7% 5-man stack ROI. But I always begin this process by asking you one question. One stack to rule them all, one stack to find them. Who would you be rolling out in single entry, one lineup today?
For me, it'd be the Mets. I mean, we just talked about Ryan Nelson, so natural transition there. Top stacks tool, just pulling in the data as well, but are a positively leveraged stack right now. They actually have the best chance to be a top stack today. The DraftKings side of things with 11.4% chance to be the top stack, but only 8.1% ownership there. So positive leverage for the top stack doesn't happen too often overall. And I have to say, even with that being the case in the semi-round before the show and things might have moved around, I really had to force my way to get Mets. Got a lot of 3-man stacks on there, but only 6% of my 5-man stacks included the Mets, 2% of my 4-man stacks. That's middle of the pack here. I think there's something in going to more Mets than not. You got a lot of guys with dangerous power up top. Your top 5 hitters for the Mets lineup today, all guys that hit over 90 miles per hour in exit velocity on average. Back of the order too, with Alvarez and Acuna in particular, 2 guys just shy of 90 miles per hour there. So you talk about good power going against a guy in Ryan Nelson, who just is not very good. 190 ISO allowed to righties, 211 ISO allowed to lefties. Hard hit rates, one of the highest marks in the slate. His everything from his bat, barrel ball rate towards the higher end as well. So I'm a big fan of the Mets, Eric. Do you want to come with me on this journey, or do you want to poo-poo on my parade?
Yeah, let's take a big fat dump on it. Let's do that. There's a number of different ways that I want to go. I do think the roof open in Arizona is interesting, but I have a feeling, just looking at our premium data, so obviously on the backside here, I'm looking at the top stacks tool, and I think there's a chance that the Mets do come in a little bit more popular. I think we see Ryan Nelson. We have the Mets as the top stack on the day. They're a little bit under-owned there in the top stacks tool, but I like the other side of that game a lot. I like the Arizona Diamondbacks a ton. And one of the things that I will do when we get off of this show is I will find my way onto more than 3.33% of them. But roof open and Griffin Canning, do we think year over year he has improved that much? Now, granted, he was pitching for the Angels, which I think is a cesspool of sadness and broken dreams, the like of which baseball has never seen before. And Griffin Canning can definitely improve. And the Mets, they found a way to have the best team ERA in baseball. They've found a way to be extremely proficient at the pitching of baseballs, but he's had problems with righty power in the past. And obviously the lefty you get at the top of this lineup in Corbin Carroll, Ketel Marte will be hitting from the left side to start it off. Pavin Smith, Josh Naylor. Those are 4 pretty good lefties that I'll give the benefit of the doubt to. But Eugenio Suarez, some of the shortest odds to go yard on the slate. Gabriel Moreno, a little surprised to see him as deep as like plus 1,200 in the home run odds department. Might have to be adding him to the board. Already bet Lourdes Gurriel, who's actually batting 7th today. Alec Thomas and Geraldo Perdomo, coming off of like 5 total bases yesterday, is batting 9th. Like 1 through 9, there's so many ways to just go about your business stacking up Arizona. You have some expensive bats. You also get some cheapies littered amongst them too. I love Arizona as a stack today, Spags.
Yeah, I like both sides of the equation. I mean, before the show, again, I was hand selecting a lot of the stuff I'm going to put in today and the highest dollar stuff I'm playing. I did want more Arizona, did want more Mets, did also get more of one other game that I'm sure we'll talk about in a moment. I think the sides, really both sides of the equation here look pretty good. Not crazy about the pitching on either part either. I think if you were going to make the case for one pitcher in the game, for me, it would certainly be Griffin Canning over Ryan Nelson, but neither one came up more than 1% for me in my top 150 before the show. So I wasn't really there. But I think a nice total here, Arizona with 5 implied runs, Mets just shy of that at 4.8. I think, frankly, you could get a shot at stacking both sides. I don't know if the price tags will work that well to get the best players in because you have some expensive players on both sides of the equation. But getting many stacks of both, if you can get 5-mans, great. A lot of power here on both sides of the equation. And Arizona, top 5 guys, all a 4% or higher home run rate versus right-handing pitching. So, like, they can both get going, I think.
Wind blowing in Sacramento today. Seattle's the other team that I'm having a tough time figuring out what I want to do with, because I mean, have we come to terms with the fact that Seattle might be one of the best offenses in baseball, but they just play in like the worst hitters park period against righties this season? 131 WRC plus, first in baseball, 183 ISO. That is 5th in baseball. They have a 279 BABIP, so it's not like they've been getting lucky by any means. I'd say that's below average in baseball with room to grow, considering 21st in BABIP. I don't know what to say, Spags, other than Seattle, I think, is one of those teams that you want to find ways to play them on just about every single slate, as long as they're not crazy popular. But I feel like this ballpark is not playing nearly as crazy as what it's been in the past. We have them with the 3rd best top stack odds. There we go. Top stack odds. Found it. Yeah, I just had to sound it out. Words are hard. But they're the 2nd most popular team on the slate next to Kansas City. And Kansas City, I don't want to play against Shane Smith and the weather that is there in Kauffman. It's really, really preventative today for me. How are you feeling about Seattle in what would traditionally be a great hitter's ballpark?
Yeah, I think the hitting is still there. I mean, if you look at the park factors for the season so far, and granted for park factors, we would like to have more than, a fractional amount of 1 year, but it's been playing better, about 12% more overall production, 25% more runs, 28% more home runs. Team totals today kind of don't support it as much, with Seattle only having 4.4 implied runs, Athletics only having 4.3. But I think it's appealing to get to both sides here a little bit more. Severino facing a lot of lefties in this spot today. He's given up a 290 batting average to lefties with a 1.5 whip and a 200 ISO over the course of the last couple seasons, about 680 batters faced. So he's not been great versus all the lefties he'll be facing today. For Bryce Miller, he's actually been pretty good, I think, in terms of avoiding walks and hits, only a 1.1 whip, and in particular, a 0.9 whip versus righties. But the underlying stuff is not that good for Bryce Miller, so I think he's due for some worse days. He's not really missing bats that much, giving up a lot of fly balls, also getting hit in the zone a good amount and attacking the zone about 85% of the time as well. So I'm very much with going to both Seattle and the Athletics. I think you favor Seattle a little bit more, at least it sounded like. I like both sides here. I think like the last game we talked about as well with Mets and Arizona, I think getting both sides of the stacks here, really, these 2 games are the only ones where I really want a lot of both sides of the bats.
Yeah, we just got the Athletic lineup in, and Duhar is batting cleanup today instead of Langoliers. That's weird to me. Langoliers batting 5th. Blade, Wilson in the 7-hole, Kurtz, who it hasn't been as pretty as they were expecting, but has crazy power, and Urias there in the 9-hole. Interesting. Nothing crazy. I mean, pretty much as expected, just one weird flip-flop there for the Athletics lineup. I will be updating that. Obviously, our data will be updating that, so you don't have to think too much about it. But Eric McPherson, EMAC, what are Eric and Spags doing with NYNCIN? I was caught off guard by the conversation and not the answer. Well, why don't you just go on the show then if you want the answers? Assuming both are a go. Yeah, both are a go for me. EMAC.
Shitting on EMAC, huh? I'm not playing the Yankees players myself because I'm not doing lineups right now. I'm going to touch some stuff up when we finish on the show here because we'll have a little bit of time. My plan was to not play San Diego and the Yankee game. Cincinnati, I'm playing normally here. I'm getting a lot of Shawver, getting some Cincinnati bats going against them as well.
I'm going to play both, it looks like. I mean, Cincinnati doesn't look great, but I think FanDuel people should be okay. We'll find out exactly what I need to do with it. I'm playing a little on FanDuel, nothing crazy today. Playing much more on DraftKings for the for the main slate. But anyway, I do think the New York game should be good to go as long as it starts on time. If there's a delay, then I will question reality. I will figure out what I need to do from there. And obviously, I'll jump in the MLB DFS channel. We'll have plenty of time. We got 12 minutes left in this program. Hit that like button for us as well. Not nearly enough likes. And obviously, sorry to EMAC. I do love you. You're my favorite. Heel turn on a team Eric. Yeah, no. Sometimes you got to do the John Cena heel turn. You got to let him know. Bum, ba-dum, bum, psh, bum, ba-dum, bum.
I've often thought of you as the John Cena of DFS. Who would be the John Cena of DFS? Would that be somebody that had a lot of success, but feels like maybe they were pushed too much on the public at some point? I don't know. There's a perfect analogy.
There is. I'm not going to say it.
Oh, now I'm curious who you're thinking.
EMAC is the GOAT. Respect your elders. Dude, he's been around since like the 1800s. He's fine. He has seen the rise and fall of American industry. He, was there for the steam engine. He was there for the invention of the telephone. He used it to check in on his mother daily, which we always respect and love. Always love your elders. And yeah.
Well, I think for EMAC too, like a lot of people out there who've been in the fantasy industry for a while, their bona fides are like, I used to check box scores in the paper and we'd send it back and forth. For EMAC, he actually used to carve it into tablets. He used to get the box score. He had the part of C and show it to his friends in the league.
Hello, gamers.
Right up the cash game plays for Moses in the game.
God, building blocks is so hard. Damn it.
When they found fire, though, that was when things really picked up.
It's Father Time's wingman. I love that, Obi-Wan. All right, back to stacks. Here we go. Let's finish it out on the DraftKings side, and then we will give our favorite individual plays, and we'll get ourselves the heck up out of here. But scrolling through top stacks, as you can see on my screen, I am a big fan of pretty much anything that has to do with Houston. They just keep scattered throughout my lineups here everywhere. I can't avoid it. Tobias Myers probably isn't crazy long for that game if I had to guess. Just the more I think about it, the more it's going to be hard for me to pull the trigger in some prominent way. Brought up Seattle, brought up Arizona. Anybody else that you really want to find your way into your lineups? Because like St. Louis, we haven't talked about them yet. Feels like a pretty decent spot for them as well.
Yeah, Houston, I got a lot of sim-wise. Got, I think, my most 5-man stacks, 13.3%. One of my more amounts of 4-man stacks, 5.3. A lot of 3-man stacks. I'm not crazy going against Myers. Kind of talked about the case why I would like Myers a little bit more, and I may take the pitch count risk in a few lineups here when I redo some stuff. We hop off the show here, but I got a lot of Houston sim-wise. I get why. I think they value pretty well relative to the projections, but I'm not as crazy about Houston as I think the sim will give it to you. I think they just make lineups work pretty well, and that's obviously, merit for their own. Besides them, KC, I got a lot of 3-mans there and a good amount of 5-mans, but definitely a lot of the 3-man stacks going against Shane Smith. Shane Smith, I think, is okay, but he does have some underlying numbers there that would seemingly indicate maybe some more run production coming against him soon. I think those are really the main ones that she got. A lot of Brewers. I don't know if you have any feelings about them, but a lot of 5-man for the Brewers. I honestly just don't like that game a lot, but I got a lot of it sim-wise with Milwaukee and Houston.
Yo, Daddy Now over in the playback chat said Isaac Collins, Milwaukee in the 2-hole tonight. So that's always fun. Get a little bit of value, a little bit of pop, a little bit of hip hop anonymous. Going to be lovely there. So Isaac Collins, that was a daddy's boy or big daddy quote. Yeah. I haven't seen that in a while.
That sounds right. It's been a while. I watched that at one point when, like in high school. I feel like I watched that like 10 times in a day because it was on illegal cable where they'd play the movie over and over again. And I was like, oh, it's a great movie. And now I can't remember shit from it because that's the power of drugs, guys.
Yeah, that's how it works. Brains are weird things. Just ask me on any day that ends in.
Yours works well. You remember everything from everything, I feel like.
I do remember a lot of things. I have a pretty good long-term, like I can remember very, very specific moments of very, very weird things. It's more of like the short-term retention that I actually struggle with more. Like there's things that people will be like, hey, don't, my wife all the time, don't forget to do this. And then like I start panicking 8 hours later because I realized, oh shit, I didn't unload the dishwasher before she got home. And it's like stuff like that. I'll just forget all day, but then I'll never forget like a year later that I did that. And it'll be like ingrained in my memory, and I won't fuck it up ever again.
Oh man, that's sad. She's like hearing you cite 80s movies that and you can't fucking unload the dishwasher. I'm sure
she's a lucky lady. Okay, any stack that we're really not getting to, because you can see Cubs in San Francisco, considering the game environment, totally makes sense that they're the only two stacks that I am not getting to. So congratulations on them for finding doubles in the gap in the worst hitting environment of the year. It's just inevitable. The Yankees, I think, would be a little bit more interesting if we knew the weather was there. Nick Pivetta has been really good in terms of power to start off the season. It's a completely different ball of wax taking on the New York Yankees in Yankee Stadium, despite that wind factor coming in from left field. Any team that you just find yourself lower on than the field?
Yeah, I'm with you on Cubs and Giants. Got no 4-mans or 5-mans out of them at all. White Sox barely got any of. I get the logic trying to go against Raggins, given the chalkiness of him, but I think he's in a good spot. I find it hard to believe he gets blown up. I think the worst case scenario is he probably, if things go poorly, doesn't make a winning lineup for you. But I prefer Raggins a lot more. But yeah, really Cubs, Giants, just the one that's jumping out the most to me. Just didn't get much of that game at all.
Got over 550 people hanging with us on a Monday afternoon talking an 8-game MLB slate. Again, I know it's only 8 games, but there's definitely some edge to be found here. Hit that like button for myself, for Spags, as we talk FanDuel. Then we'll give our home run plays. Then we'll get the heck up out of here and turn it over to NBA Live before lock. I repeat, the Sims tool, or sorry, not the Sims tool, the Portfolio EV tool over at OddsShopper being shared over at playback.tv/Stokastic. It will be up there till the completion of our show, and it'll be back up there throughout the duration of NBA Live before lock. 2 games. I think we're all looking forward to watching those and building lineups for those. So that'll be with Josh and Greg coming up next. But to the stack portion over here, you can see there's a number of different batters that just end up more popular over here, specifically Shohei Ohtani. What do we do with the Dodgers on FanDuel, Spags, where we have a 50% owned batter in Shohei Ohtani because Sandy Alcantara just gets hit up every single day, ending in Y. He is terrible, horrible, no good, very bad at this point in time. Mookie Betts. I mean, the Dodgers are a completely different game-changing type stack for the FanDuel slate.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think trying to get to the full stack is certainly appealing enough there, especially if you are going to have Ohtani be that highly owned. You could put Ohtani in the stack, get lower owned for that, or you could fade Ohtani in the stack. And if somehow he fails, the rest of the team goes off, then you're probably vaulting a lot of the field on FanDuel. But I think playing them will get him out. Seems like what you have to do on FanDuel today. 17% chance for them to be a top stack, about 18% ownership coming their way. So technically negative leverage, but they have about a 2x chance of being the top stack today compared to the number 2 team, Cleveland. So you got to get a lot of Dodgers. Cleveland also looking pretty good. Atlanta, Houston, I think teams that we're getting on DraftKings anyway are fine. But really the prioritizing Dodgers seems to be the main thing there because they have the highest run total by about 0.8 today.
Yeah, they definitely look exceptional in my opinion. And obviously in Spag's opinion too. And he has great opinions. He gives great opinion. There's that.
Show me your O face, your opinion face.
Opinion. Daniel Sheeman there as well. I mean, we're seeing some Cleveland jumping up to the top there as well. J-Ram Schneeman, who's just been mashing baseballs out of nowhere now. So that's cool and good to know. Cleveland and Washington. We'll say Washington, one of my favorite contrarian stacks for the FanDuel slate. You get a lot of speed, a lot of ability there. Luis Ortiz, horrible against lefties. And then you got Alex Call up there. I already posted about that over on X in the 2-hole today. That is a spicy meatball if you're looking for 100-to-1 single game parlay that I think is a lot better than that. But let's get ourselves back over to the DraftKings slate here and get the heck up out of here for the people. We got to do it, though. And there's a song, and some people want to hear it. Some people don't. Keep the puppet in the box. No, Humboldt. El Negro Loco said puppet, so we want the puppet. We want the puppet. Puppet. We want the dong of the day. Song. Go.
Okay. Dog of the day, whoop whoop. Dog of the day, it's the dog of the day. Dog of the day, Eric's gonna pick a dog, and this time the dog is coming out of his mouth. Dog of the day. We figured out that's good entendre, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Leaves a lot to the imagination, I think.
Yeah, no, it doesn't leave a lot to the imagination. I already gave my O face on this show. Guardians Nationals will be delayed due to inclement weather Monday. That sounds Terrifying. So we will be on high alert for that. Again, 40 minutes. I'll be hanging out because I'm not going anywhere. I've got lineups to build. I've got things to do. I've got live before lock NBA style to watch. But first, Chris Spags, the people need to know who's going in their lineups today.
All right, so basically what this pick means is take the players nearest them in the lineup, and I think you're going to get a home run from one of the Mets up top today. I will go to a man who you laughed at me for picking him. Last time I picked him, Lindor went double dong. I'm going to go Juan Soto again, Eric.
So did he really?
The day that works so well for you. So you play some Lindor again, you're going to the pay window because I'm picking Juan Soto.
Look at you. You're a fancy bitch. I'll get off the wall. I'll get off the reservation for the people. We got ourselves a plus 800 dong. 7-hole Arizona Diamondbacks, my favorite stack on the slate against Griffin Canning at their current ownership. It is Lourdes Gurriel. This guy, Griffin Canning, righty power is what he gave up a ton when he was in Anaheim. I'm not convinced. I will make you prove it to me. Griffin Canning going up against Lourdes Gurriel, who has that launch in him, 18.5 degree average launch angle, 447 expected slugging, and you never get screwed over at the plate with him. He has an 11.5% K rate and just a 3.8% walk rate. I love it when my under-owned dongs decide that they want to come out to play. So Lourdes Gurriel, he's going for the people. Spags, that is going to do it for another live before lock for us in the books. Don't forget to check out playback.tv/Stokastic for the NBA Live Before Lock show coming up next. I'm going to pull off a portfolio EV, set it up here for the next guys, but he's at Chris Spags. Tell the people where to find you.
Check me out at Chris Spags. Check out my 2 YouTube channels at Splash Play Pod for NFL best ball content, at Splash Play Bets for my NBA DFS stuff / some point in MLB. And also, I think I have an NFL best ball stream partner with DraftKings here coming up this week on this channel. So stay tuned here if you want some Stokastic style best ball content. I'll be hitting that on DraftKings coming up later in the week, I believe, if not next week.
Absolutely. Things you love to see. That, my friends, things you love to see is that. But yeah, we got our dong of the day out, and Puppet Lindquist was fantastic as he always is. Lovely to see him. Lovely to see my friend Chris Spags. Go follow the Splash Play channel over on YouTube's, please. That would be very, very lovely. Don't forget to check out Portfolio EV. But we got to turn it over to NBA Live Before Lock. He's Chris. I'm Eric. You can follow me at Eric Lindquist. We out. Bye.